which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. I'm John David Wells. It's Fishing Shirt Friday. And on this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We depropagandize the mainstream media. We also make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion. Yours and mine, equally valuable. Let's share. Let's compare. Let's debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report, and strangely enough, we're on at our normal time, 11 to 1 p.m. Central. I know, I've been skipping all over the place. People have been confused as to when this broadcast is going to be on, and I apologize. Also, I apologize for not being on yesterday. I had to unplug after the debate. I did. This is a hard job. I'm not going to complain about it because this is a mission for me. This is a calling. And so I do this, but everybody has a saturation point. And yesterday I hit mine. And I needed to back off. And so I took a day off, played golf with my friend Ken Lynch, and just breathed a little. So if you missed the show yesterday, please forgive me. Like I said, I had to unplug for a minute. Former President Donald Trump says he's not going to debate in a third debate this election cycle. He claims victory after yesterday's showdown against Vice President Kamala Harris. The Harris campaign after the debate said they'd be interested in having another, but Trump was lukewarm to the idea. And yesterday afternoon, he rejected the proposal completely. And he also showed up on Fox and Friends this morning to talk a little bit more about it. Let's take a look at that report.
Donald Trump. Mr. President, how do you feel about the night? 105 minutes long. You've done this before. I think your eighth one. What is your review of your performance?
Well, I looked at the poll numbers. I listened to Harold Ford. I don't know what he was watching because I think he wasn't watching the debate that I was in yesterday. I think we did great. It was 3-1. It was a rigged deal, as I assumed it would be, because when you looked at the fact that they were correcting everything and not correcting with her, and we knew it when it was 100% good coverage for her over the last month or last year. I looked at it and only bad coverage of me, no matter what. The press is so dishonest in this country. It's amazing. Now, I didn't mind because, frankly, I knew I was pretty sure that's what they would do. CNN was much more honorable. The debate we had with Biden was a much more honorably run debate. But this was incredible. I mean, everything, so many things I said were debunked, totally debunked, like Charlottesville. I have a list of 7 different things. And she could say anything she wanted, everything. Every time I spoke and my stuff was right, they'd correct you. I thought it was terrible from the standpoint of ABC. They're the most dishonest, in my opinion, the most dishonest news organization. And that's saying a lot because they're all essentially really dishonest. But I thought I did a great job. It was 3-on-1. And I thought I did a great job. Now, we sent you the polls, but every single poll last night had me winning like 90-10. We had C-SPAN at one point was at 80-20, and I don't know how it finished. That was late last night, so I have no idea. But it was at 80-20. I told that to Brett Baer. And so we sent him a lot of polls, and we sent you a lot of polls this morning. And every single poll had us winning by a lot, despite the fact that it was an unfair debate, obviously, and it was a 3-on-1. And that's okay. I've had worse odds in my life. I've had it before, but never so obvious. A lot of people are very angry about it. You have corrupt news organizations. You have a lot of bad people. It's amazing in that business. In your business.
Yeah, Mr. President, we kind of expected it because when you look at Media Research Center, they said 100% of the stories covered on ABC about Kamala, 100% of the time was positive. 93% of the time when they covered you, it was negative. So it was infuriating to watch them fact check you and not her when she brought up IVF, when she brought up Project 2025 several times, and when she brought up Charlottesville.
Yeah, and so the universal opinion is that ABC essentially was in Kamala Harris's corner. It was 3-on-1. That being said, there is new polling out there that talks a little bit about just exactly how people are feeling about this. This is a Reuters Ipsos poll. And let me see if I can bring this up for you here as we get things rolling. Let me turn this down just a minute. Anyway, let me bring this up to you. There's this Ipsos poll shows that Kamala Harris got a bounce out of this debate. And once again, you have to look at this from a standpoint of what is polling. What is Reuters Ipsos polling? And these things are everywhere. And they're typically within the margin of error. But that margin of error is still newsworthy, and that those results are still newsworthy. Let's join this report on CNN.
Reuters Ipsos poll has Harris ahead by 5 points. Let's take a look at that right now. CNN's Harry Enten is here with much more. Harry, can you give us some context around that margin and the movement that you're seeing in polling post-debate?
Yeah, I think it's rather important, Kate, to point out that the Reuters Ipsos poll has actually been one of Harris's best. So look, you get that 5-point margin, right? That 47-42 that you mentioned post-debate. But that's actually not a lot of movement from where we were in August when Harris was up by 4. Now, that is movement from where we were in late July when Harris was up by 2. But the bottom line here is this. At least in the first polling that we're getting post this debate between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, maybe slight movement in Harris's direction, but not overwhelmingly so, which I don't think is really much of a surprise given the 50 nation we are right now. But the bottom line is in the average of polls, Harris had a slight national lead. And at this particular point, I think she'll probably hold on to that, at least based upon this initial signal.
Yeah, didn't hurt her. Maybe, but
no.
Didn't also, like, it wasn't, the nail in the coffin for a Donald Trump candidacy either, which is exactly kind of what people expected with this debate in the 50 nation we are in right now. What is the biggest difference, though, you see in polls, these polls compared to those that came after the Biden-Trump debate in June?
Yeah, I mean, look, it all comes down to mental state and being able to deal with challenges. All right, so mental sharp and can deal with challenges. Look at this. Back in the post-June debate, right? Look at that. 52% of voters said that, in fact, Trump was mentally sharp and can deal with challenges. Look at the Joe Biden number. It was just 26%. Now, look at the difference here. Look at this. 58% in the post-September debate poll said that Harris was mentally sharp and can deal with challenges. Trump's number actually dropped below 50%, down to just 46, so that 52 to 46. So this was the big change that I think a lot of Democrats are hoping for when they switched out Biden for Harris. It came down to mental sharpness. And the bottom line is the clear majority of voters believe that Kamala Harris is mentally sharp and deal with challenges. And the number for Trump, that declined by 6 points between post-June and post-September. I think that's a very welcome sign for Democrats. So on the top line, maybe not so much movement nationally, but underneath the hood, I think Democrats really have to like what they see.
All right. So that was CNN talking a little bit about the polling, and it's kind of equivocal. Kamala Harris, 46% in August, 47% or 48%, or I'm sorry, I got that backwards. It's 47 and 48, 1 point up. But still, that is a positive thing, and it is at odds with what Donald Trump just said on Fox News, having to do with the fact that he believes that indeed there is great polling for him, saying that he won the debate, and not just that, but he also doesn't see him moving forward with a third debate. I suspect I suspect he's going to change his mind on that, because I suspect at some point there will be an there will be an opportunity for Donald Trump to say, hey, you know what? We can provide that nail in the coffin that the CNN anchor was talking about, and maybe he'll take a chance on it. But we will see. We don't know. That's kind of up in the air. Donald Trump feels very good about the debate. He spoke about issues, and Kamala Harris, ABC did not do her any favors by not following up on all of those questions that they were gladly able to do with Donald Trump. That didn't do Kamala Harris any favors, because everybody's saying, well, she didn't answer any questions and she was evasive. And unfortunately, that's true. In other news, Donald Trump has also come up with another tax policy that I think will make a lot of people extremely happy. Look at this.
I'm also announcing that as part of our additional tax cuts, we will end all taxes on overtime. You know what that means? Think of that. Think of that. Think of that. That gives people more of an incentive to work. It gives the companies it's a lot easier to get the people. And, you know, I went to some economists, great ones, and I said, what do you think? They said, it would be unbelievable. You'll get a whole new workforce by doing that. No taxes on overtime. The people who work overtime are among the hardest working citizens in our country. And for too long, no one in Washington has been looking out for them. Those are the people. They really work. They're police officers, nurses, factory workers, construction workers, truck drivers, and machine operators. It's time for the working man and woman to finally catch a break, and that's what we're doing, because this is a good one. And I think it's going to be great for the country.
I think that was a very good move. I think that was excellent by the President of the United States, who is actually bringing real change from a tax standpoint, not just on tips, but also Social Security and now overtime. And yes, he makes a very good point, and I find this to be something that indeed politicians don't bring up. And that is that the people that are making overtime decisions, in other words, taking more time away from their families, more time away from their private lives in order to earn more money, are the hardest working people in the country. They absolutely are. I have a day job now, and that day job offers me overtime, and I jump on it every chance I get, even though I'm currently paying taxes on a bunch of extra money. Well, yeah, that hurts, but still, at the end of the day, I mean, I have an ethos. I don't work for money. I work for the company that I'm working for. So the money is the money. But it would certainly be helpful to me to be able to see taxes on Social Security removed, which I never really understood anyway. Why would you tax Social Security money? It's already been taxed. I mean, it's double taxation. Why would you tax it? And what that does is that rolls back the actual payment from the government of the United States, because those taxes pay the government. In other words, it's a discount on your Social Security benefit. And I've always found that to be very odd. And now, so taxes on overtime, taxes on tips. Again, tips are not something that I believe need to be taxed again. They have been taxed by the person gifting those tips for the people that are servicing or serving them, because TIPS is actually an acronym to ensure prompt service. TIPS. This is the Wells Report. It's Friday. I'm John David Wells, and my fishing shirt. Why am I wearing a fishing shirt today? Well, because it's going to be back up into the 90s in Texas, where I live. And yeah, it's getting hot again. Now, this might be the last gasp of the Texas summers that we're familiar with. And I certainly hope so, because let me tell you, we've had some cool weather. So cool, in fact, that I was able to go out and play some golf yesterday without melting, and really enjoyed that nice feel of cool air, and I'm looking forward to more of it. This is the Wells Report. Stick around. Coming up in just a couple of seconds, we'll spend some more time including reparations again, this time for New York City. Stay put.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
The Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. Telephone number 817-379-2172. People checking in on the chat room. Yvonne said she's not wearing her fishing shirt. That's odd. She normally wears fishing shirts on Fishing Shirt Friday, and you all should, especially if you live in Texas or any place warm. These are Magellan fishing shirts. They are not too expensive. You can find them at Academy Sports. And they are comfortable, and they are cool, and they are just about required uniform items for people living where it's hot. So that's why we do it Fishing Shirt Friday. In wintertime, we do Flannel Shirt Friday because you want to be cozy this week. Yvonne also asks, so in this polling from Reuters Ipsos, Mental sharpness is one of the metrics. Yeah, it's one of the metrics. And by the way, Kamala Harris went up a lot in that. And the reason was for two reasons. One, well, three. Okay. First of all, Joe Biden had a terrible time and the contrast was stark. Two, this is the best anybody's ever seen Kamala Harris since she has been the vice president of the United States. It was clearly a much better performance. Was it acted? Well, that's up to you to decide. And were there things that were out of kilter with it? Yes. And certainly no follow-up questions, no fact checking on Kamala Harris. And I have a thought on that or two, and I'll get to that here in just a couple of seconds. But the third thing is that Kamala Harris didn't vomit all over herself and have the face plant that a lot of people think is coming. Now, I also said that ABC didn't do her any favors. People are questioning her evasiveness, and now it's beginning to look like true evasion of the things that are clearly going to follow her all the way to Election Day. All of these flip-flops on positions, and the fact that her new positions, by her own admission, are at odds with her values. Her values haven't changed. Her policies have. She said that herself. Well, okay. Do you want a president who governs on their policies but aren't connected to their values? Is that really something that you want to do? Once again, I'm just asking. That's all. Want to talk a little bit about this. Well, I'll get to that in just a couple of seconds. Let me keep going on this. Kamala Harris needs to, and her allies are saying this, and we'll have more about this coming up in just a couple of moments. She needs to be very forthcoming with the American people, and she needs to start now. She needs to figure out some way of welding together her values, which are at odds with her policies, and her policies, which are at odds with her values. So people say, well, this is kind of a false campaign. There's a lot of fakery going on. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors and so on. Well, that is a statement that absolutely proves it. That values are at odds with policies. There's dishonesty right there off the bat. And what are you going to get when it comes time to see Kamala Harris as the president? Are you going to get her values? Or are you going to get these policies that she's promising before the elections? I don't know. Once again, I'm just asking from a standpoint of all of this. And Jenny Bayless says, do you really think she's going to keep her promises? I don't know. I absolutely don't know. There have been times when people voted for presidents that changed after the election. And the phrase is, well, that's not the president I voted for. Okay, and some of that is the fact that they weren't running an honest campaign in the first place. The other part of it is there could be circumstances. For example, George W. Bush. George W. Bush found himself in a position where he had a lot of things that I thought were very, very good and based my votes on those things, and then 9/11 happened. And so all of those agenda items were swept aside by the exigent of international terrorism visiting itself upon the United States. And there are other things that I'm not going to get into because this is not a partisan broadcast. This is about the news. But you can think back to presidents doing different things than they talked about. I think you can probably figure those out. This is the Wells Report. Back with more in just a moment.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Greetings. Fishing Shirt Friday in progress. After this one's done, we get a weekend. I'll be working, but, that's okay. So we'll see. Also, stick around at the end of the broadcast. I have a programming announcement that I got to make. I'm still mulling it over in my head. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this. but we'll figure it all out, okay? So, something that I was going to talk about and didn't really get a chance to because I wanted to opine a little bit more on the Kamala Harris evasiveness, etc., with the mainstream media. She's got to stop that. We're going to get to that here in just a second. New York City will soon be the largest city in the U.S. to enact a program of reparations for its black citizens. Council members Crystal Hudson and Farah Lewis sponsored a pair of bills to establish a Truth, Healing, and Reconciliation Commission and a reparations task force. Both bills passed on Thursday and will be effective immediately. CBS New York did a superb report on that. Let's take a look at it as we continue on this Friday morning here on the Wells Report.
New tonight, New York City had one of the highest rates of slave ownership in the country in the 1700s.
That's according to the city council, which just took a significant step toward healing and reconciliation. Jenna DeAngelis explains from City Hall.
I want reparations in my lifetime.
This 94-year-old Crown Heights resident is joining the fight for justice and equity on the steps of City Hall.
It means everything.
Ahead of a vote Thursday, city council members outlined a package of legislation aimed at acknowledging, studying, and addressing the impact of slavery and racial injustices in New York City.
In this surrounding area, people of African descent were brought to these shores and sold and trafficked and worked to build this city that we so love.
One of 4 bills establishes a task force to consider the creation of freedom trails in the city. Another would require the installation of signage near Wall and Pearl Streets to mark the site of New York's first slave market.
The harm slavery caused Black Americans continues to be felt today.
Establishing the ongoing legacies of slavery in the city is part of the bill Councilmember Crystal Hudson introduced, which calls for a truth, healing, and reconciliation process. It would also protect and acknowledge those affected and recommend changes to prevent the recurrence of injustices. Councilmember Farah Lewis's bill mandates a study on reparations, both monetary and non-monetary, responding to pushback.
Financial restitutions is not what we're doing right here with reparations is about. It's about having a conversation, putting together a committee. They should trust the process.
City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams says this should have happened a long time ago, but the legislation
rightfully wraps justice into one package.
A package which passed. The bills now head to the mayor's desk, which the council members involved say they hope and anticipate he will sign. Outside City Hall, Jenna DeAngelis, CBS News, New York.
There are a lot of problems with this that, they're asking for a conversation. Well, let's have one. First of all, in the 1700s, a lot of the slave trade was not into New York. It was into a place called New Amsterdam. And the Dutch were very responsible for bringing most of those slaves to the United States on nationally flagged Dutch ships. So it's New Amsterdam. That's question number 1. Question number 2, slavery in the United States ended with the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. 1863. Who's responsible for reparations to former slaves? There are no former slaves. One of the people speaking said that slavery is still impacting the United States today. No, not since 1863. Racism is different, but this isn't reparations. This idea is not reparations for bigotry, which is a crime against humanity. It is reparations for slave trade. And no one in New York owned slaves. No one in New York was a slave. And the third question may seem a little odd, but how would you determine who was a family affected by slavery generations ago? How would you determine who's who? Well, we had people in our family that were slaves. Oh. Well, okay, does Rachel Dolezal, who identifies as a black woman, does she also have slaves in her background? And is there any way to check up on any of these folks to find out whether or not there were slaves in their background? Aside from family history? Family history is important because remember, the family history of Elizabeth Warren said she was a Native American and she She profited from a standpoint of education, contributions to her political career because she was a Native American, quote unquote, and she was not. These are the problems here. These are the problems that we have with reparations. Okay, so how is this going to go, and just exactly who's responsible? Remember when the slave trade was thriving in New Amsterdam, that would then be changed to New York after a time. Remember, there was no America. We weren't Americans. We were people of European descent. Now, should those reparations be paid by those countries of Europe? These are all questions that have to be answered and certainly have to be talked about. And one last point. If indeed the reparations movement takes hold in this nation and those reparations are actually paid, does that end bigotry in the United States forever? Seems to me that should be the deal. If you accept reparations, there's no slavery. You have to stop talking about it. As a matter of fact, arguably, since this is tied to bigotry, so America has left bigotry behind if those reparations are paid. And if there's any argument for reparations, putting aside racial grievance in the United States based on slavery of African American citizens of this nation, is that worth it? To be able to say, okay, we're done with bigotry in the United States, done with slavery in the United States. We're only going to deal with it as a historic artifact. Again, those are things that need to be talked about. There is finally fact-checking that is occurring regarding some of the things that Kamala Harris said. During the Tuesday presidential debate, Vice President Kamala Harris, former President Donald Trump, Harris inaccurately, and by the way, this is from USA Today, Harris inaccurately made it sound as though there are no U.S. soldiers deployed in overseas conflict zones. As of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. That is, and USA Today says, that's not quite true. Now, when USA Today or any of the other leftist mainstream media outlets points out something that they disagree with, say, for example, with, Donald Trump, they say, this is a lie. But no, this is not quite true. This is that bias that we point out, the depropagandization of the American media. The U.S. maintains 1,000 troops on bases in Syria. I know this personally. My son was one of them at one point. He was in Syria, and that is most decidedly a war zone. Another 2,500 in Iraq, according to the U.S. Department of Defense. In Syria, U.S. troops are stationed to help prevent a resurgence of the IS, the Islamic State group. They play a similar role in Iraq, where they also help to disrupt Iran's influence and supply lines to various militias. Major civil war hostilities in both Syria and Iraq have gradually eased, but both places are mired in low-level conflict. One example of how U.S. troops are in harm's way overseas: on the last day of August, a U.S. military-led raid in western Iraq killed at least 15 Islamic State group operatives who fought back with numerous weapons, including grenades, explosive suicide belts. 7 U.S. soldiers were injured during the operation. So what Kamala Harris said was inaccurate. And if the situation was reversed and Donald Trump had said something like that, it would be characterized as a lie. But this one's just not quite true, according to USA Today. Yeah, that's not good either. And I got to be honest with you, that really is, once again, points to ABC as a biased, if not a rigged debate purveyor last Tuesday night, at least in my humble opinion. So there was this. Let me get back to, hold on a second here. Okay. No, that's the other one. Yeah. By the way, Harris's claim of people leaving early for out of Trump rallies. That was also something that was brought up. Let me see if I can bring this up for you. This is a video, and it's actually pretty fair and pretty good. Let me turn this down just a couple of seconds as we wait for this commercial to end. And this is actually pretty good. This is a pretty good rendition of what was happening when it came down to supposedly people leaving Donald Trump's rallies early, which was something that was said, well, that was a baiting process by Kamala Harris. Well, and Donald Trump rose to the bait. It rose to the bait and actually, found himself in this position. Check this out.
Harris now back out on the campaign trail after Tuesday night's debate. Donald Trump returning to a rally crowd in Arizona. He spoke for more than an hour, claiming victory in the debate while attacking the moderators. And he also repeated some of the debunked claims he made involving migrants, the 2020 election, and crowd sizes.
Residents are reporting that the migrants are walking off with the town's geese and even walking off with their pets. My dog's been taken. And they said we lost. I was told if I got 63 million votes, which is what I got in 2016, you can't lose. Just get 63. I got close to 12 million more votes than that. And we lost, but we didn't lose. Her crowds are zero. Her crowd, she's got no crowds. They bus the people in. They pay buses to bring people. Nobody here rode in on a bus.
Seeing the number of people who do leave Donald Trump's rallies early, I think obviously that came up during the debate and hearing Vice President Kamala Harris sort of take a jab at him and get under his skin by mentioning that people leave the rallies early. That was something I was kind of keeping an eye out for yesterday in Tucson. And I will say, I talked to several of the folks that did leave early, and a lot of people that go to Trump's rallies are in line for 6-7 hours before the rally takes place. We saw yesterday in Tucson over 100+ degree weather. Because of the heat, there was dozens of people that had to be taken out of the line with heat exhaustion symptoms. And really, we did see thousands of people turn out. We did see that some of those folks that I talked to that left early was because it was a middle of the day rally and seeing, the family commitments, having to pick up kids at school. And a lot of people kind of jabbing at me, talking to them and saying, I'm not leaving because I'm bored, I promise.
Yeah, so that's what you see there. So a little bit of fact checking actually finally leaking out regarding the biased debate. And then there is this, and this one's important. This from Fox News, so it is biased. Just keep that in mind. Political strategists, Democrat politicians are divided on Vice President Harris's media strategy as she continues to avoid official press conferences with reporters. This according to a new report. You always just have to do enough national stuff to keep the press off of your butt, except to use the A word, according to Chuck Rocha from NBC News. Former President Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, have sat down for at least 48 interviews since the Harris-Walz ticket was formed, compared to just 8 non-scripted interviews for the Democrat presidential ticket thus far. I think she should do as many interviews as possible in battleground states, but the rest is a waste of time, said Rocha. National interviews mean nothing to persuade voters. Media is too broad now for this to matter. 30 years ago, when there were only 3 channels, it mattered more. I disagree vehemently with that. There needs to be national news coverage of national caliber or national level press conferences from Kamala Harris. And this, by the way, takes us back to the basement strategy of Joe Biden. Remember, it was COVID, couldn't let Joe Biden get out, older guy, susceptible to COVID, etc. And as a matter of fact, he's had COVID more than I have. I've had it twice. And the president has had it, 6 or 7 times, something along that line? And he took all the shots, but let's just leave that there. But what ended up happening was at that point, I said, okay, so if this is a successful campaign, and it was for 2020, are we going to see more of that? Well, the answer is decidedly yes, because it's happening again. I don't think it's going to hold. I don't think it's going to hold at all. And then what's going to happen? What will be the next thing? Will Kamala Harris word salad her way into doom if she's actually put in front of a mainstream media press conference? Will that press conference follow in the footsteps of Joe Biden again, where particular correspondents are picked with questions that are already prepared? Will that happen? Don't know. Don't know. But if it does, I don't believe personally, I don't think it's going to work. And like I said, Kamala Harris just needs to step out and say what she thinks. She does. You know, come hell or high water, whatever that is, she just needs to start telling the truth and being forthright with the American people, just in my opinion. How do you feel? Call me.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. Greetings. John David Wells, thanking you very much for joining us on Fishing Shirt Friday. Yeah, I got the dates correct. For some reason, I thought it was August. Actually, I didn't think it was August. I just overlooked it. It's Friday the 13th. Oh, my. Friday the 13th. Anyway, let's just talk a little bit about the fact that Gary said, hey, you got the date wrong, so I fixed it. Oops. So USA Today is out with an election survival guide, how to respond to a loved one's conspiracy theories. Okay, when Donald Trump brought up false claims about cat-eating migrants in this week's presidential debate, Kamala Harris burst into laughter. Well, I don't know what she was laughing at, first of all. You know, people in poor countries eat all kinds of things that normally you don't find here in the United States. Is it possible that's happening? Sure. It's possible. I mean, it's easy to find out. Let's go to Haiti and see how many dogs and cats are running around on the streets in the poorer parts of the country. That's how you could do it. Anyway, it might have been an effective debate technique for the vice president as she challenged the former president's political positions, but psychologists and extremism experts say everyday Americans are better off not meeting a loved one's conspiracy theories with ridicule. We don't want to shame people for believing in a false narrative, said Sarah Agnano, a disinformation analyst with the Anti-Defamation League's Center on Extremism. For one, belittling the believer isn't generally an effective way to convince someone the story is not true. Fact-based arguments may result in defensiveness rather than listening and acceptance, according to clinical psychologist Lauren Soeiro. Soeiro? S-O-E-I-R-O. Soeiro. The least effective arguments against conspiracy, as you might imagine, is a mocking, sarcastic tone or an effort at ridicule, said Soeiro, writing in Psychology Today, how to talk to the conspiracy theorist in your life. Well, what you need to keep in mind is that most of the self-appointed elitists from the left, and it happened again, where someone said something about the fact that that Trump supporters are beneath them. They should be discounted. And that's happened a lot. And if you are indeed mocking the mentality of someone you are discussing politics with, you've lost the argument. You have. In social media, nobody knows anybody. They're just reacting to a statement on a page. And that's kind of a mess. And it doesn't work. And so this particular idea of being sarcastic, mocking, openly challenging, that doesn't work. And especially profanity. This broadcast appears on X every single day. And X is a clearinghouse for really rough statements, full of profanity, mocking, outright denigration of somebody that's just essentially showing up to take their part in the conversation. And of all the things that are out there on X that are so brilliantly good, the lack of civility is a distraction. Now, that's not Elon Musk's fault. And no, he shouldn't do anything about it, because that's what free speech looks like. It's rough and tumble. In the words of Mitt Romney, it ain't beanbag. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's rough and tumble. But if you are resorting to denigrating somebody's mentality and profanity, you are brushing up very closely toward hysteria. And you see a lot of that in a lot of the responses on both sides. Let's be fair, on both sides. You can't do this. An unsubstantiated story, and this is, once again, from USA Today. The unsubstantiated story about Haitian migrants eating pets in Ohio took flight after Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance shared the claims on social media to millions of followers, although it's been contradicted by local officials. These are the same local officials responsible for 20,000 migrants moving into a town of 58,000 people. What are they going to say? I mean, seriously, what are they going to say? No, they're not eating our cats and dogs. Of course, that's what they're going to say. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, these Haitian migrants, well, they've developed an interesting look at gastronomy, and they love cats and dogs. Yeah, they look forward to when in Springfield, Ohio, that it rains cats and dogs, because that means a big dinner tonight. Yeah. When Trump repeated the story to 67 million viewers during the debate, it metastasized. Theories like this, they pop up all the time, said Aniano. They don't always gain traction like this one has. But when influencers share stories, that kind of engagement can add to the credibility of the narrative, even if it's been debunked. Now, we know that to be the fact because Kamala Harris keeps talking about Project 2021. There are all kinds of things that happened in the debate that are simply not true. Good people on both sides. Yeah, I mean, all this stuff that has been not just debunked, but debunked by leftist debunkers. I mean, these are the fragments. These are the political grenades, the fragments that fly around. And, people go, okay, well, that one makes sense and that one doesn't make sense and blah, 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 blah. But when it comes to conspiracy theories, something else needs to be said. And that's this. How many of those conspiracy theories that we heard during the Biden administration turned out not to be conspiracy theories? How many of them turned out to be dead nuts true? Too many of them. Way too many of them. So, once again, one man's conspiracy theory may be somebody else's opportunity for propaganda. This is the Wells Report for Fishing Shirt Friday. Stick around. We've got some more things coming up in just a couple of minutes. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of people in Washington State are not doing their jobs. Why are they not doing their jobs? Stick around.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship.
Call 877-655-6870. That's 877-655-6870. 877-655-6870.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Welser Report. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We de-propagandize the mainstream media, and man, there's a lot of propaganda out there, isn't there? Man, it's amazing. Excuse me. We also make commentary. Commentary is not news. We differentiate between news and commentary on this broadcast. People that sit behind microphones like this and talk to cameras like that. Excuse me. I'm drowning in my own spit. Anyway, some of those people believe their opinions are news. Don Lemon, perfect example. Not the case. So it's opinion, and you've got one, I've got one, or several. And indeed, we should share them. We should compare them. We should debate them. That's what this show's all about. I hope you enjoy it. So it hasn't happened since 2008. USA Today reports that Boeing workers walked off the job this morning to begin picketing outside the company plants around Seattle. The overwhelming vote to reject a contract deal is expected to halt operations in the Seattle area, which is the hub of Boeing's commercial airline manufacturing, and disrupt the company's supply chain. This according to Reuters. The decision also comes as Boeing faces intense scrutiny from regulators and customers amid a series of crises, including when a door panel blew off of a 737 MAX Alaska Air jetliner in midair. That happened in January of this year. Tens of thousands of machinists voted yesterday to reject a proposed deal between the companies and the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, IAM, whose members produce Boeing's 737 MAX and other jets in the Seattle and Portland areas. The rejection was despite significantly boosted pay and benefits the deal would have offered. This, according to multiple reports. There is a CNN article on this, a CNN report. Let's take a look at it on this Friday edition of the Wells Report.
This is the first strike at Boeing in 16 years and will pretty much halt commercial airplane production at one of the country's largest manufacturers and exporters. CNN's Vanessa Yurkevich is with us. Great to see you, Vanessa. So what's going on here?
Great to see you, John. So yeah, this was not just a no vote. This was an absolutely not vote. You had 95% of membership voting down this deal that was agreed to by the union leadership and Boeing. And then you had 96% of membership saying they wanted to go on strike. And that is exactly what we are seeing this morning. 33,000 union members who work at Boeing, bringing one of America's largest manufacturers to a grinding halt. You also mentioned they are a huge exporter. Listen to what the union president, John Holden, said last night after the vote results.
This is something that we take on one day at a time, 1 week at a time. You know, we got to get back to the table. Our members sent a strong message. I know they're going to be staffing the picket lines tonight, and we'll be there 24/7 all across Puget Sound and Portland and the other locations.
Now, this will not affect passengers of airlines right now, and this is not really going to affect the airlines in the immediacy. However, where this does come into play is if this strike drags out, this is going to affect the nearly 10,000 suppliers that work with Boeing. Boeing says that it contributes about $79 billion to the U.S. economy and creates many more jobs in addition to these union membership jobs, about 1.6 million jobs. So this could certainly have a ripple effect, but union membership saying that the deal that was struck is simply not good enough. It was 25% wage increases. It was a signing bonus. It was the promise to bring a new airplane to Washington that union members could vote on, that could work on. We don't know, though, with this vote, John, whether or not that plane will end up coming to the state of Washington, because it was contingent, of course, on this deal being a yes vote by membership. And that's not what we saw last night.
No, it isn't. And they said, sorry, no go. At least the workers did. They rejected the proposed deal between the company and the machinists union. Of the roughly 30,000 union members, 96% voted in favor of the strike, according to reports. 2/3 were needed to approve a work stoppage, according to Reuters. The strike could be seen as a blow to new Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg, who took over in August with a mandate to restore the company's image as a premier American airline manufacturer, aerospace. Ortberg's proposed deal included a pay raise of 25% over 4 years, which was far lower than the 40% workers had demanded, according to Reuters. As recently as Sunday, it appeared a deal was imminent when Boeing announced it had reached a tentative agreement with the union to avert a crippling strike. That proposed 4-year contract included concessions such as general wage increases of 25%, a commitment to build the next commercial airplane in the Seattle area. They do have other factories elsewhere. South Carolina is one of them, I believe. They provided the program with a launch, provided the program was launched within 4 years of the contract. The deal also included better retirement benefits, gave the union more input into the safety and quality of the production system. Although union leadership called it the best contract we've negotiated in our history, many workers were angry about the loss of an annual bonus, larger raises, and original demands. This is about respect, about addressing the past. This is about fighting for our future, according to John Holden, who headed the negotiations. You just saw him for Boeing's largest union before announcing the vote result yesterday evening, per Reuters. Even before the Thursday vote, workers had been protesting this week at Boeing factories in the Seattle area that assemble the Boeing MAX 777 and 767 jets. Now that strike is in effect, workers assembled shortly after midnight outside factory entrances, waving placards reading "On Strike Against Boeing." Some motorists passing by honked their horns in support, according to Reuters. Some workers indicated they're willing to maintain the picket line for the long haul. "I'm willing to strike for 2 months or even longer," said James Mann, a 26-year-old who works in a wings division at Boeing. "Let's go as long as it takes to get what we deserve." But for Boeing leaders, they're hoping to get union officials back to the bargaining table as quickly as possible. "We remain committed to resetting our relationship with our employees and the union. We're ready to get back to the table to reach a new agreement," said the plane maker in a statement to Reuters. Holden told reporters, "We're going to get back to the table as quickly as we can." He didn't say how long he thought the strike would last or when talks would resume. "That's something we're going to take one day at a time, 1 week at a time." The Biden administration has been closely monitoring the talks, with acting Labor Secretary Julie Su last week urging the sides in an interview with Reuters to get a fair contract. The strike is the latest in a series of high-profile setbacks for Boeing. The aerospace company has been plagued by multiple safety incidents, beginning with 2 crashes of 737 MAX jets that left 346 people dead in 2018 and 2019. Those wrecks were ultimately attributed to poorly designed, undisclosed flight control software, and Boeing agreed to plead guilty to 1 count of criminal fraud in connection with the case. Then in January, an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX 9 lost a door panel that blew off from the section of a fuselage shortly after takeoff. No serious injuries were reported, but more than 100 planes were again grounded. Regulatory scrutiny of Boeing ramped up. Boeing also experienced major setbacks with its Starliner spacecraft, which it designed and built one day make crewed missions to the International Space Station for NASA. The Starliner's first crewed test encountered a slew of technical issues that forced NASA to return it to Earth last week without its crew, who remain at the space station as we speak. The task of returning Starliner astronauts to Earth will instead fall to Boeing's competitor, SpaceX. And I want to do something really fast here. Starliner and the airlines, completely different kettles of fish. Starliner is a test vehicle, and they're working on that system to be able to take over for Russia, because Russia doesn't like us much these days. And we use Soyuz spacecraft to bring supplies and astronauts to the International Space Station. This is a replacement vehicle for that. And test flights, they are always fraught with various technical issues and various changes that have to be made, which are not necessarily technical issues. I applaud NASA for not returning the crew in Starliner when there were any questions about the thruster systems on that spacecraft, because you just don't want to have a spacecraft tumble out of near Earth orbit through the atmosphere and break up. Now, there is a precedent for this. Soyuz 1 was piloted by I believe his name is Alexei Komarov, and the spacecraft was flawed. They didn't have any choice except to return him in that flawed spacecraft. The chutes didn't open. He hit the ground at 300 and something miles an hour, and that was that. And so spacecraft are different than airliners, and when it comes to airliners, Boeing was in a situation where they had made a mistake decades ago when they stopped making the 757. The 757 was supposed to replace the 737. And they decided not to continue building 757 aircraft. By the way, Donald Trump flies in a 757. And so when you're in a position here where you're doing all of these things, you try to redesign what you had before, which was the 737. But in order to do that, they relied on an airliner piloting system that assisted pilots to the point where in order to keep the aircraft in the sky on a stable trajectory, the computers had to fly the aircraft at some level. Well, they didn't quite get all that right. And pilots argued, and this happened with Airbus. The Airbus 320s, famous for arguing with the pilots until they hit the ground. And that's what happened with the 737 MAX. So, yeah, Boeing's having a tough... The one thing that really is inexcusable is that door panel. There are different configurations of these aircraft. And you can have doors in some places on the fuselage that you don't see because they're plugged up for certain models of the aircraft. And this is bolted in very strongly and then painted over and so on. You don't really see these door plugs. Well, one was only held on by something like 4 bolts. There should have been 8 of them, for fasteners, and it flew off. And that is inexcusable. That is just plain, that's incompetence. So Boeing does deserve to get its butt kicked. But when you're talking about this kind of stuff, then you're in a position here where when it rains, it pours. Boeing is a good employer. Seattle would be a particle of its normal size without Boeing. And why these people would look at a 25% pay increase and turn their noses up at it? Well, I think that's a little silly. Also, I believe that unions have been empowered by the Biden administration, the most pro-union administration in the history of the United States. And so they're saying, well, let's go for that while we have this moment. Well, okay. And the problem with that is that once again, this is a major aerospace manufacturer that is now sitting idle because these workers want more after being empowered by an administration that absolutely go after the union vote. Well, okay. So do you want to see more of that or less of that? Think about this for just a couple of seconds. Look at the job that you're on. Would you stop working if you didn't get a 40% 40% wage increase? Probably not. A 25% wage increase is a huge amount of money. Oh yeah, it takes 4 years, etc. But still, I mean, some of this has to resort to reasonableness, and we're not seeing a whole lot of that, at least not in my opinion. Telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172 coming up. Woke and the U.S. Army and another congressional hearing.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. I'm John David Wells on Fishing Shirt Friday. After this one's done, we get to take the weekend off. And I hope you have a restful and fun weekend planned. House Republicans, speaking of people having trouble with their labor force, House Republicans are bringing in U.S. Army officials to testify at a hearing next week on training representations or training presentations that referred to pro-life groups as terrorists. This according to Fox News Digital. The House Armed Services Committee's Subcommittee on Military Personnel will hear Thursday afternoon from Agnes Schaefer, Assistant Secretary of the Army for Manpower and Reserve Affairs, and Lieutenant General Patrick Matlock, Army Deputy Chief of Staff. Republicans led by Armed Services Chairman Mike Rogers and Subcommittee Chairman Jim Banks, both Republicans, wrote a letter to Army Secretary Christine Wormuth demanding information about a slide deck. The Army wrote back, admitting the slides inaccurately referenced pro-life groups like Right to Life and Operation Rescue, and a slew of pro-animal and green groups like PETA as terrorist organizations. Schaefer wrote the training deck, which was used to teach 9,100 Army soldiers at Fort Liberty, North Carolina, between 2017 and 2024, was, quote, inconsistent with Army's anti-terrorism policy and training, unquote. She said the slides were not reviewed by Fort Liberty leadership and are no longer in use. Schaefer said that there is no evidence to suggest the individual who created the slide deck did so to deliberately subvert Army policy or to further a personal viewpoint. The slides were used to conduct terrorism awareness training for soldiers assigned to guarding the gates at Fort Liberty. Schaefer said the slides were not shared outside of Fort Liberty. The Republican letter in July said the slides indicated a member of pro-life organizations or members of pro-life organizations could be threats to the safety of military installations, and that regalia of such troops like pro-life license plate could potentially indicate terrorism. Yeah. Officials at the Fayetteville, North Carolina garrison said the person using the slides remains employed at the facility, and that's understandable. It's downright ridiculous to claim the slide deck doesn't further a personal viewpoint, but there have been no consequences for the employee who ran anti-life training sessions at Fort Liberty that clearly violated Army policy, according to Representative Banks. Representative Rogers said the hearings will be held to get answers about how this occurred and ensure it never happens again. This is what happens when you start doing things that are, shall we say, contrary to things like, small things, like the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. When you start saying that free speech isn't free speech if it disagrees with your politics, well, this is the garbage that ensues. And make no mistake, it's garbage. Why would you do this? I mean, what are you thinking? Well, probably not. There's probably no arch motivation when you do a military training deck. You know, you're trying to create a training scenario where people will be vigilant, especially outside Army base gates, to what might be a problem that is brewing right in front of their very eyes that they might otherwise miss. Also, there's another problem, and you can see this plainly in that if indeed there are problems where MPs, force protection specialists, are engaged in by protesters that are yelling at them where everything is on video, you do have to take steps to make sure that these soldiers respond appropriately. Hey, I will call my supervisor and let you talk to them, or I'll let the public information officer talk to you. In the meantime, I can't say anything. So here, why don't you have a bottle of water? That's one way of getting this taken care of. And it works really, really well. I've seen that for myself. So once again, you step into trying to get rid of free speech in America, and suddenly, before you know it, you're in trouble. This is the Wells Report.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. Fishing Shirt Friday in progress on the Wells Report. Hi, I'm John David Wells. So we spend a lot of time discussing artificial intelligence on this broadcast. I'm exquisitely concerned about artificial intelligence and where it could possibly lead, and indeed has led already. Artificial intelligence is a creation of human beings. But as we've seen, we have automated machines that work faster, work more efficiently, are stronger, faster than human beings. And this is just an extension of all that. And when you start providing, and this is probably a little esoteric, but I'm just going to put it out there, okay? When technology throughout the ages, excuse me, appeared in the human existence, okay? I mean, people were, if you watch the film 2001: A Space Odyssey, early humans discovered that they could down animals or each other with bones. That was a new technological invention. And the humans that figured it out had a decisive advantage against humans that didn't figure it out. You go through all of that, and you have rudimentary firearms coming out of China because they invented gunpowder. And then you keep moving forward, nuclear weapons, et cetera, et cetera. These provide decisive advantages to various groups of human beings over other various groups of human beings. The nuclear club, well, those countries that have nuclear weapons hold that decisive advantage over those countries that don't. Artificial intelligence is the next thing, and I see that this is far more dangerous to human beings than even nuclear weapons. And that decisive advantage comes from the fact that if we indeed create an intellect that is able to outperform our own, what's out there to stop it? Well, we'll unplug it. Really. Like so many other things in our lifetimes, Star Trek of all places came up with this wonderful thing where they automated a starship with something called the M5 computer. And the M5 computer was incredibly advanced and represented this new technological breakthrough that would make it possible for a starship to be run by a computer instead of human beings. And what do you give up? Well, you give up humanity is what you give up for what is another intellect operating outside of the human paradigm. And indeed, okay, so you just unplug it. Well, the M5 computer in that particular episode figured out how to power itself independently of human beings being able to turn it off. Disaster ensued, or possible disaster ensued. And that was something that we live with right now. We live with this right now. And it got closer to being real today. This being reported by Fox News. China this week decided not to sign on to an international blueprint agreed to by 60 other nations, including the United States, that look to establish guardrails when employing artificial intelligence for military use. More than 90 nations attended the Responsible Artificial Intelligence in the Military Domain Summit hosted by South Korea Monday and Tuesday of this week, though roughly a third of the attendees did not support the non-binding proposal. AI expert Arthur Herman, a senior fellow and director of the Quantum Alliance Initiative with the Hudson Institute, told Fox News that some 30 nations opted out of this important development in the race to develop AI. It's not necessarily cause for concern, though in Beijing's case, it is likely because of its general opposition to signing multilateral agreements. Okay, this next little comment in other cases has been universally decried as racist or some form of bigotry for national origin. And that's not where I'm going with this. But China is having a real tough time controlling biological weapons in their own nation. What are they going to do when artificial intelligence controls those weapons in a military sense? What they're going to do is they're going to say, oh my goodness, how do we stop this? Is there a way to do it? Well, yeah, China was famous for putting technology in computer chips that made its way into American defense systems that had back doors to turn those systems off. All right. So in other words, there are ways of making this technology in a position where, you might be able to alter what the weaponry is designed to do. But likewise, there's a small problem with the idea of what if, say, for example, an artificially intelligent weapon system finds a way around those back doors. And you're saying, John, that's pretty far-fetched. That's really far-fetched. No, it's not. Let me give you a couple of examples. Deep space probes like Voyagers 1 and 2 had technical problems. And controllers on the ground were able to figure out how to work around those problems and return functionality to those spacecraft. The Hubble Space Telescope is now in a position where a lot of its machinery has failed, specifically attitude controlling gyroscopes. They wear out. And since there's no way to get to the Hubble Space Telescope to fix it, well, sooner or later, that beautiful human being changing piece of gear is going to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere and break apart and end its life. I just hope I can find a piece of glass from the mirror. Although I really don't want the pieces of the Hubble Space Telescope to land in my neighborhood. But there are ways around these things. And remember, while spacecraft repairs are handled by human intellect on the ground, communicating with the spacecraft, you have another intellect available for itself to repair itself. And when you're talking about military weaponry, that is a recipe for disaster. And once again, to harken back to entertainment, the Terminator series of movies proved just how deadly to human beings that kind of technology can be. Now, did the technology exist for the movies? No. But does it exist now? Yeah. Yeah, it does. So the algorithms that drive defense systems and weapon systems depend on how fast they can go. They move quickly to gather information and data, and then you can speed back to command and control so that they can make the decision. Or not. There are autonomous weapon systems that decide, okay, I've got a target. This is the target. It's obvious, and I'm going to hit it. The speed at which AI moves, it's hugely important to the battlefield. If the decision that AI systems making decisions that involve taking a human life, then you want to be the one in which it's a human being that makes the final call about the decisions of that sort. Well, what if you can't? Nations leading in AI development like the U.S. have said maintaining a human element in serious battlefield decisions is hugely important to avoid mistaken casualties and prevent a machine-driven conflict. And by the way, there's another precedent for this. There are systems that operate autonomously that warn a country when they're being attacked. There was a famous incident where a Russian lieutenant colonel of the Strategic Rocket Forces was told by its automated system that the United States had launched a huge preemptive strike against the nation of Russia. Flashing lights, klaxons, all kinds of things happening. And this lieutenant colonel sat there and said, this doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. It was during the Reagan era. Doesn't make any sense. And so he canceled the alerts. If that was an autonomous system, then Russia would have launched rockets toward the United States based on this system determining that it was under attack. And that's where we're going here. That's where we're headed. And that China, through stolen technology, excuse me, but that's the case, is developing their artificial intelligence algorithms, if you want to, but that's so far, the idea of referring to algorithms, it's obsolete at this point. I mean, this is another intellect that's interacting with human beings. And do you really want that in weapon systems? Well, what are you going to do, John David? You're just going to become one of those people that says you can't even let technology improve? Well, no, I'm not one of those people. But I am one of those people that says we better come up with a better way of doing this, or human beings will be rendered obsolete by our own inventions. And this was talked about with nuclear weapons. We finally had the technology to destroy everyone on Earth. Well, at least we controlled it, like this lieutenant colonel of the Strategic Rocket Forces in Russia. He made a decision that was purely human. It was right. Was he essentially turned out of the military? Yes. He wasn't accused of anything, but then again, he wasn't sustained either, because it did turn out that the system that warned him of an imminent nuclear attack from the United States against Russia was a mistake. And if there's no human being in the loop, no command and control done by a human being, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Very likely, we wouldn't be here at all. And we would have gone on the way of dinosaurs. And whoever shows up after us, whether it's artificial intelligence, again, referring to Star Trek, the Borg, whether it's the artificial intelligence that goes through what was left of us in order to try to research us a little bit better, or whether it's somebody from other worlds, what they're going to find is a cindered planet with machines handling things. And they'll be able to figure out, hey, you know what? These people destroyed themselves. This is something that is indeed in the offing if we don't have treaties like this that we stick to. It can also be a rallying point for human beings. We should stand together to protect each other from technologies beyond us, especially those technologies that we created ourselves. This is not good. And as I said when I first started doing this broadcast, I'm going to be the guy on the hill saying the tornado is coming. Well, the AI tornado is coming. We better do something about it if it's still possible to do something about it. We don't know. Oh, John David, hell, those AI systems, they come up with gibberish. What if it's only gibberish to us? What if the intellect that's generating what we see as gibberish fully understands all that gibberish? And it's beyond us to understand it. Quite literally, we would have a circumstance where their technology is beyond our comprehension. Hello? Is anybody listening? This is out there. And I really would appreciate it if they would stop doing that kind of stuff and start coming together for the sake of humanity. There might be other technologies, other worlds that overwhelm us at some point. The Native Americans living on this continent, when Europeans came, found that to be absolutely true. They had fine lives. They were doing just fine. And then all of a sudden, people with ships and weapons and laws and written language essentially changed their entire lives forever. I know you're sitting there going, boy, that's really nice stuff to talk about on Friday right before a weekend. Yeah, I know. But somebody's got to say it. I guess I'm that guy. This is the Wells Report. Back with more coming up in just a couple of moments on this Friday.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number 817-379-2172, 817-379-2172. Just got a really cool little heads up from Yvonne that President Trump was holding a press conference. Let me see what I can do about bringing it to you. Look, I can do it. And let me get rid of this real fast. And let's find out a little bit about what the president is talking about in this press conference. Let me double check to make sure we got sound. And we do. And this was live from Los Angeles as the president is speaking. So let's find out what he has to say. Oops. Hold on. There we go.
The border, and now it's and it was 100% beautiful. And that includes fentanyl and drugs and everything else. We had it fixed, and now nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I guess they want to do it because we built hundreds of miles of wall, and we had hundreds of miles, I said, after we completed, much more than I said I was going to complete. And it had a huge impact. But after I completed it, we had all of this wall to be put up. It could have been put up in 200 miles, could have been put up in 3 weeks, would have been totally sealed and much larger than I originally said, but it worked so well. We were doing so well. And not only didn't they put it up, they sold much of it for 5 cents on the dollar. Very expensive wall, has wires inside of it for technology. Hardened steel, hardened concrete, and rebar. They wanted all three. I did it as per the Border Patrol. I disagreed with the look. They said, sir, this is the only way. We had to put a anti-climb panel on top. The panel on top is an anti-climb panel. I said, I don't like the way it looks. They say, I know, but it stops people from climbing. I said, all right, we'll do it the way you want. A president has a duty to keep you safe. Kamala will turn America into a poor, violent, third world refugee camp. It already sort of is. We have elections that are a mess, and we have a border that's the worst of any border ever in the world. There's never been a country ever in the world that's allowed 21 million people to come across in a short period of time. And children and the children of American citizens are at the mercy of barbaric criminals. You take a look at what's happening in Colorado. The governor's afraid to even talk about it. The governor is a Democrat. Colorado, I hope you're going to vote for Trump because you're being stampeded by your own politicians. The governor can't talk about it because he can't go against the policies of these lunatics that want all these people to come into our country without knowing who they are. We don't even know where they come from. As of last week, I was told by Tom Homan, we had 168 countries represented over the last 12 months. In other words, people came in illegally from 168 different countries. Most people don't know there's that many countries. There's more than that in the world. We'll know them all pretty soon, I'm sure. In breaking news yesterday, the premier statistical agency at the Justice Department, you remember where David Muir tried to correct me when I said that crime is rampant like never before. He said, oh, no. He said, crime is going down. I said, where are you coming from? And, you know, you wouldn't have to need a Bureau of Justice statistics to know that crime is worse than it's ever been. And I guess they probably watched the debate and they heard this foolish man, this foolish fool make that statement to me that, no, crime is coming down. The FBI said it was coming down. The FBI defrauded everybody. Because what they did is they used statistics not including some of the worst areas and some of the worst cities. So the real numbers are from the Bureau of Justice Statistics, and they just released it. So I think they probably like me because they wanted to defend me from people that are not smart, from a guy who has good hair, but not as good as it was 5 years ago, to be honest. And they just released brand new numbers just out last night, late, showing that since 2020, so this guy, David Muir, was correcting me, the FBI. Now the FBI defrauded, just like they defrauded on the jobs, 118,000 jobs that didn't exist. The FBI, in this case, defrauded. So violent crime, just out, nationwide is up 40%. Rape is up 42%. Car theft is up 42%. Aggravated assaults are up 55%. And violent attacks on strangers are up much more than 61%. So those are your numbers. See, those are the numbers. Now, I think he corrected me 11 times. Of the 11 times, I don't think he had the right to correct me at all. Didn't correct her once. Like on Project 2025, I have no idea about. It had nothing to do with me. He didn't correct her. He knew that. Charlottesville, nothing was done wrong. All you had to do is read my statement one more sentence, and you would have seen that. Sean Hannity, Laura Ingraham, Jesse, all of them, Greg Gutfeld, they all took that and they corrected it many times, but they keep coming with the same lies. I'm going to save Social Security, and I'm going to make it good, and we're not going to raise the age, just as I did for 4 years when many Democrats wanted me to do something about it.
All right, so that's the former president of the United States, speaking to the press in Los Angeles. And that is, you can find that if you want to leave the Wells Report at the end of the broadcast. You can do that, and it would, you might want to see what he has to say. And so that's another week of the Wells Report. Thanks very much for being a part of it, and thank you very much for your kind attention to this broadcast. Make sure you tell your friends about it. Make sure that you hit the notification button because you need to know when we're going to be on the air next week. That's still kind of up in the air, and I'll have more information for you on Facebook and X. And we'll be back on Monday for another edition of the Wells Report. God bless you and yours. Take good care. Make good decisions. Be safe. And we'll see you again on Monday, I think. Watch this platform for more information. God bless you. Take good care. And have yourself a wonderful weekend.